Thanks for tuning in to the Traumaplicity podcast with Dr. Amanda Helman, an author, cognitive release coach, consultant, and speaker. Dr. Amanda Helman has guests on the podcast who have overcome different areas of trauma and provided hope for the audience. Thank you for tuning in to this podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday Traumaplicity talk show. My name is Dr. Amanda Helman, author, coach, consultant, and speaker. And I am out in Philly today. I've been doing a lot of lives, a lot of shows outside, which makes me extremely happy. And so you'll get to see different settings and views. You get this beautiful tree, as well as you get to see my amazing guests. I have Jessica Carpenter here today. And so the Traumaplicity show takes trauma and simplicity, right? We try to take simple steps in our healing process, and it takes time, right? Sometimes there's a process, but one step at a time, one bite at a time is how we go forward. And so I'm really excited. We have Jessica Carpenter. As I mentioned, I met Jessica through M3 Linked. It's a forum that we met through a mutual friend, Abby, actually. And so it's a forum for a lot of entrepreneurs, and we support each other, and they do great work. So I'm really fortunate to have met Jess and many other people. And so Jessica, I know we've talked before and just shared some of parts of our story, but I'm really excited to hear a part of your story, your healing journey, essentially. And so if you can share part of your, maybe perhaps something that you experienced in your life. And again, I'll ask you about some things that you've done to support yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I think you're an amazing person, and what you're doing for everyone is pretty outstanding. So I appreciate you taking the time to let me come in and talk. So I've gone through a couple of different things through my lifetime. I'm 46, so I've had plenty of time to experience a lot of life. But I think the one thing that I could talk about is kind of like the past 7 or 8 years of my life, in kind of a more of a controlling relationship where it wasn't, we didn't have the same focus in mind. And there was a lot of one person getting what they wanted and the other person not. So through that relationship, I kind of found myself, and realized what my bigger purpose in life was going to be in the end, after the end of that relationship. So realizing that I needed to fight for myself, and the things that I wanted to do in my life, like, sitting down every night after dinner on the couch was not what I thought God had intended for me. I thought that there was a bigger plan for me. And so with a lot of debate and praying and trying to figure out what my next steps were going to be, I started a new life. And with that started my agency. So looking back at my life and seeing the things that I didn't have, my daughter and I started a women's empowerment agency to help those people maybe make their struggle a little bit less. Mm-hmm. So I went to school and college with 3 children as a single mom, and I struggled with that a lot. It was very difficult. I didn't have a lot of family supporting me. So with that, and then the controlling relationship, I felt like my bigger plan was to start an agency where I could help other women.
That's amazing. And I love how you shared, Jessica, about, okay, I was in this relationship, right? And I knew that it wasn't aligned to what I knew. Right. You may not have known that agency or all those things came afterwards, right? But you knew there's something more. And obviously that was probably a really hard time, I'm imagining. And what were, I guess, some simple steps? Maybe we'll ask this first. Like, you knew at a certain point, right, that it was time to leave that relationship. What are like maybe 2 or 3 things that you did that were simple, right, to get yourself there, that maybe you can share with others in the audience, maybe other women or people in relationships where they know it might be time to move forward, they might be afraid. So what are 2 or 3 steps you did?
One of the things that would probably be the hardest thing is stepping outside of the situation and kind of taking a look in from the outside and saying, is this what is best for me? Is this right? Is this what the plan was supposed to be when we entered into this? I know my family, like my daughters and my son and my coworkers were very supportive of me. So I would talk to them, bounce it off of them, see what their honest opinion was. And they all knew what I needed to admit, and they weren't afraid to tell me. Sometimes it's hard because your friends may not tell you what you need to hear, but maybe what you want to hear. And that's a really important thing, is to have a friend that is going to be completely honest with you about what the situation is. And then, I went to therapy. I spent some time talking to a psychologist about what the situation was and getting an honest piece of information from him as well.
Mm-hmm.
All super helpful.
That's great. Well, I heard three things from you, so I'm just going to summarize that. The first thing that you shared was that you reflected, right? You took time away from that situation. So again, those of you out there, hopefully it's safe, right? Hopefully that there's a place, or at least maybe before work, right? Or at lunch or somewhere safe, right? That you can do this, that you can get alone, right? Or just even if it's 10 minutes, just to kind of say, it, like you were saying, like, is this what I want? Is this what I was expecting? Is this healthy, right, for me or not? And just different questions that you may write down, or even a journal. And then the second thing, and I think, Jessica, that's important, is friends, right? You mentioned, okay, having friends that tell you what you need to hear, what you want to hear, and friends that will speak the love, right, love and truth, but will speak to you in a way that you can then reflect, right? That'll not challenge you in a bad way, right? But help you grow and say, hey, I care about you. You're going to still make your own choice, right? But here's what's going on. And so you always need a friend or two like that. So I think that was great. So hopefully, again, if you're out there, you have that, or you have somebody, right, that you can consider that could be safe like that. And then the last, you said, okay, reflection, and then friendship.
And therapy.
Therapy. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So that was really important. I always say every person needs a therapist, no matter what. But so you were saying, absolutely, therapy, right? Making sure you had therapy and you had a counselor, right, or a mentor, somebody that can hear you, right? Especially when you have friends and family, you can be a support, but it's different, right? Your therapist or counselor is someone that is specialized with that, and they also can hear, right, what you're saying and be a mirror. So those are three important points. So thank you, Jessica. Those are, simple enough, right? And if you're nervous about therapy, maybe it's just writing down numbers, right? Just take the step of looking. You don't have to do anything yet. So those are great, Jessica. So in terms of, I'm just thinking in the audience, right? Perhaps where you've been, right, in this situation, or perhaps people on the journey. What would be some words of encouragement, or even like a quote or something that you held on to, or perhaps want to share your wisdom?
I did. Yeah. I have a great quote that I can share. And, it's so hard being in a situation, you could be married for 20, 30 years and you think, well, this is the way it's always been. Why would I change it? It's going to be so hard to start over, but I missed out on so much of my life. What if there's more out there? I didn't get to complete these things because I was raising my kids, or this isn't what my husband wanted. But it's your life. You only have one life. So with that, I'll read you this quote that I found that is just absolutely beautiful. So it says, I hope you find the courage to change your life in the small ways, in the big ways, in every way that matters. I hope you do not end this story with a heart full of regrets. I hope you not spend your years just waiting for your life to begin. I hope you realize that this is not the practice run. This is not the preview. This is it. There's nothing to do but leap. There's nothing to do but allow yourself to exist as boldly and as honestly as you can. You will think you have forever, but you don't. It all happens. It happens quickly. You're not waiting on another person or the right timing or for everything to fall in place. You're waiting to feel ready enough to exist within the questions, to not need every answer, and to know that this life does not come to us to be perfectly understood, but to be fully experienced in every direction we can possibly reach. And every time I read that, I get goosebumps.
Wow. That's so powerful, and I appreciate you sharing that. And obviously, I have the transcript on, so I can read that. And if you're in the audience, you can read that. It is very powerful, and I appreciate you sharing that. Is that something you wrote, or something that you?
No, that's by Brianna Weiss, and
okay.
I do blogs as much as I can. I mean, we try to do it every week, but you can go to weagency.org to see our blogs. And we're also on Facebook, Women's Empowerment Agency. And that piece is on there, along with a bunch of really encouraging stories to help you take your next steps, to encourage you to volunteer, or whatever it might be. Every week we try and do something that encourages people.
That's amazing. And I'm glad that you took my next question, which really was just asking you if there's a way to connect with you or
Yeah.
for women, right? Or even, if there's men, but women watching that you're like, hey, I'm at this crossroads, that you have information again, and I'll write that in, the chat and comments on my author and speaker page. So if you wanted to look at the We Agency, right? Hopefully I said that correctly. Yeah. And just see that for empowerment, and just see the blogs, right? And even perhaps you can relate to what Jessica shared today. And just the amazing part, right, is that as you take those steps, even though they might be scary, with the right supports, right? And even things in life are scary, right? Sometimes it's scary staying comfortable, and it's scary being uncomfortable. But taking those steps, and I think, Jessica, just if you're willing, I know this isn't part of what I may have asked, but if there were some things that happened in you after you had this agency, like what are some big changes in your life? Maybe there's one or two, and maybe perhaps your emotions, or how you view yourself since, before and after. What would you say are the biggest changes that you can see in yourself?
Sure. So there was one course that I actually took online called Women Rising, and it's basically just giving time to reflect upon yourself and who you are, and concentrating on you, dating yourself, taking yourself out to dinner, and just being alone and getting to know yourself. We're always, as women, giving to other people, and that was huge for me. The other thing was the writing the blogs helped me to learn a lot, and just to really reflect on myself. I think the last blog that I wrote was on Mean Girls and Mean Boys. After I was talking to my niece and nephew about some of the things that they go through at school. And I try and whenever I'm out, if I see a woman that I'm intimidated by, I'll just go up and tell her how beautiful she is, because it really just closes the gap. We need to be on each other's side and to be supportive. And the biggest thing that I can offer is that, one, if you're hesitant or scared or need someone to talk to, please call me. It's free. I'm happy to talk to whomever. I feel like if we have a cheerleader behind us, we can really do anything. And that's so powerful. So I can be your cheerleader if you need one.
I love that. And I know that about you, Jessica. You're just rooting for people, and just super sweet, and just have a heart and passion for people to move into their dreams. And I love that you just shared, one way, right? Some of you can be intimidated, right? Or some of you may be, depending on your healing journey. But I love that you just go up, right, Jessica, and you're like, hey, I love how you look beautiful, or I love this. And you start a conversation, and then you probably realize that person, right, is a human being, and they might be having similar thoughts, or may not even realize it, right? But like, oh my gosh, they might be having a hard day. And so sometimes, right, we realize that we're all human beings, right? We're all in this journey, and that we all do need a cheerleader or encouragement. So I love, Jessica, I knew that you would be sharing amazing encouragement to our women, and even men, if you're out there, again, right, if we have different unhealthy relationships, it's not just, right, just for women, it can happen with men. And so, you all deserve your best. Like you said, date yourself, love yourself, right? Learn to love and value yourself, because when you do, you're going to attract, right? You're going to end up with people that will value and love you, and you'll see that. And then you don't want to accept anything less. So I appreciate, again, Jessica, everything you said. So audience, I will be posting the We Agency information. There's blogs there, and wonderful information, lots of wisdom from your journey, Jessica. So thank you so much. Audience, please write down if you have any questions. I can give them to Jessica, or I can, answer them. Certainly we'll send the We Agency. And just know that you're amazing. You matter. Your voice matters. Your message matters. That you're incredible. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself a lot of grace. And with that said, we are wrapping up this edition of our Traumaplicity talk show with Jessica Carpenter, and she does amazing work and has such a heart. So audience, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week when you tune in again. All right. Bye, everybody. You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
The Traumaplicity podcast is sponsored by Cognitive Release Coaching TM with Dr. Amanda Helman, who empowers people to release the busy brain and gain back time, energy, and productivity that leads to well-being. Contact Dr. Amanda Helman by checking out one of the links to this show. Subscribe and share the Traumaplicity podcast with people that can benefit.